Hello, my name is David. I'm 25 years old, and I live here in Bracha in Samaria, what is known in the US as the West Bank of Israel. I want to tell you a little bit about me, what I do here, what we all do here. This settlement is about as old as I am. It was founded about 28 years ago, something like that. There's about 1,000 people living here. Not very rich people, hard-working citizens, law-abiding citizens, people who love this country, serve in the army, work for the living, give birth and raise large, happy families.
Tell me, are there any Arabs around here that also live close by?
Yeah, we're all surrounded by villages, and of course the big city of Nablus, Shechem, is downhill.
The Jews that live in this town, your friends, do they have any contacts with the local Arabs? Do you play together, work together?
No, it was different once, so they say. Before the so-called peace process began, there was actually peace.
Before Oslo, there was peace?
Yeah, that's the irony about it. People were buying vegetables in Shechem and in Ramallah. People could drive the roads safely.
You mean the Jews?
I mean everyone.
Or Arabs too, yeah.
Arabs didn't have to stand at roadblocks. Jewish cars.
No roadblocks before the peace process?
One platoon was in charge of the entire city of Shechem. It's unbelievable when you think about it today, but I think before the Palestinians had the concept of terror, before they began thinking in this formula of doing terror, getting political rewards, they just lived here. All in all, they enjoyed the economical development, the larger markets of Jewish people.
What is that peace process? When did it start?
Well, it all began, I think, with the Intifada.
Why did Intifada start?
There were always warmongers among the Palestinians, but that never developed into a major uprising without the intervention of some external forces,
So what would be those external forces?
Mostly, I think, anti-Semitic groups from Western Europe, and also in the larger Arab world, millionaires from Saudi Arabia. Arafat was a man condemned to death in Tunisia, and by the Tunisian government. He was a terrorist. The whole paradigm of thought was that if they would be economically developed and all, then it would be possible to talk to them and to make peace with them. But this concept fails time and time again.
That's what the Jews believe, the government of Israel believes.
That is the Western thinking. It doesn't work in Iraq, it didn't work here. The Arabs have a different mentalism, a different history. They are undergoing their own processes. You can't, just come one day, eliminate their leadership, and turn them into a Western democratic state. It just doesn't work like that.
Many people say that it's because Jews came to the Middle East 100 years ago or 150 years ago, that is the root cause of all the problems here, of all this conflict that we experience now.
Well, I have to say, this is a bare lie. Before we came here, Arabs were fighting one another, just as they would do once. I hope that will never happen, but once, if we will live, they will just come back fighting each other. Even today, when they have us as a common enemy, they can't unite properly, to coordinate an attack. Even today, they're busy in their petty disputes and their, historic rivalries and their family honors, whatever it is.
When you say Arabs, you mean like
Syria,
Oh, other
Jordan,
countries,
and
okay.
Egypt, for example. Not to mention the outer perimeter of Iran and Iraq. They're not Arabs, but they're Muslims too, and they hate us too.
So what do you think is the reason for the hostility against Jews? Is it the Muslim religion, or is it the Arabs that they have something in their DNA that they hate Jews?
Well, Arab history is tied with Muslim religion, so it's hard to separate. Theoretically, the dispute is with the religion, because Islam maintains that an area once conquered by Muslims must never be given to the hands of non-Muslims. Well, eventually they're supposed to rule the entire world.
I have a question now about the influence of European groups. There's dozens of European groups that fight in Europe for the rights of Arabs and Palestinians, especially they call it Palestinians, and they come here to Israel. They try to build peace between the Jews and the Arabs by helping the process along. Can you comment on it?
Yeah. I think most of these people are wonderful people, willing to sacrifice the comfort of their homes, travel to an unknown land, or even to engage in active politics. I think European people especially are eaten with guilt for crimes their own nations performed in the past against all sorts of religious and national minorities, and they want to learn a lesson. They want their generation to look different. I identify myself with these people and I salute to these people. The problem is that these are usually not the leaders. Those who organize these actions are strictly anti-Semitic, evil people. There are people who think in the most primitive way that Jews have some sort of conspiracy to rule the world, or that they like to kill Christian children. You hear these things to this day. It's unbelievable, but it's true. And it connects in a very unholy alliance with the Muslim aspiration to conquer this place and the Muslim fear from Western culture in general. So all these people are cooperating and misleading the good people who really want to do better work here. Also the Israeli government underestimates the importance of media in explaining its position. It is very easy to display the Israeli settlers as some sorts of European colonialists who came here and deprived the Palestinians from their lands and all sorts of these stories, but these are all lies. It never happened. It might have happened in America. It might have happened in Australia. It didn't happen here.
By it didn't happen, you mean that the Jews are not the white settlers and the Arabs are not the Indians, right?
Far from it. And barely anybody lived here. Most of the Arabs came after the Jews, even before the state of Israel was founded, began to develop the place.
Arabs came because Jews were developing the place?
Yeah, this place was barren, barely settled, undeveloped area. Barely anyone lived here. No Jews, no Arabs, nobody. When Jews began to come here, everything began to change. They developed this place, they settled it, they built cities. Once this place began to develop, Arabs began to flow to this area too. The city of Shechem grew.
Where those Arabs came from? I mean, they started flowing here from where?
Yeah, a lot of them lived in Jordan. Jews began to eliminate the marshes and replace them with fields and trees. Arabs never did that. They are not doing it to this day. You can see the difference between areas colonized by Jews and areas colonized by Palestinians.
But all that happened around what? Could you say middle of 19th century or second half?
Yeah.
And how did Arabs learn about that?
Well, you know, rumors spreads, better life somewhere else, workers needed, buyers for our goods,
and
you
those
know.
Arabs started coming?
Yeah, just like that. I'm not saying some of them did live here.
Another question. Western media accuses Israel of apartheid. The definition came from South Africa, where the blacks had to live completely separate.
Well, here's another example of Europeans projecting their guilt on us. You know, it was Europeans in Africa after all. And we have no policy of, you know, preferring Jews among non-Jews. You know, many Russians live here and some other national minorities. Yeah, and they enjoy full civil rights and everything.
Do black people live here too?
We have Ethiopians. Yeah, that's right.
Ethiopians are black? They're black
Yeah,
or white?
yeah. They're black, completely black. Even more black than Yemenites. Yeah.
They can get jobs here? Or
Absolutely. Legally, they have every right in the book and even more, you know.
There's no rule that, let's say, a black person has separate bathrooms or something like that.
Unheard of.
Because in South Africa...
Yeah, I know what happened in South Africa. Yeah, well, it wasn't just Africa, you know. It was all of America until some time ago.
Right, 50 years ago.
We never did anything like that.
There's no such thing going on. So why do they say there's apartheid?
Well, when Arabs are engaged in terror, they become enemies. For example, every Arab in the eyes of the Jewish people is a potential killer, you know. So if an Arab wants to go on a plane, there is a higher chance that he carries a bomb. So it's not like we have something against Arab DNA or Arab culture. It's reality that makes them our enemies. So, for example, you can say there's apartheid in the airports. Why Arabs have to go extensive checks where other people are only given a shallow look? But that's the necessity. We're not doing it out of some ideology to oppress Arabs.
Can Arabs buy properties, like house or piece of land, in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, I mean, in anywhere they want?
Israeli law allows it. What's more, they are allowed to buy houses even in settlements settled currently exclusively by Jews, but not vice versa. If a Jew wants to buy a house in an Arab settlement, they can forbid it. We can't forbid them from buying a house in here. So basically, I think when two nations are at war, naturally hate emerges. But it's not something that is essential to the Jewish ideology. It's not something against non-Jews in general, and it's not even something against Arabs. It's just an unfortunate result of the fact that we are enemies. In a war we didn't start, and we're attacked times and times again by the Arabs.
Can a guy like you, Jewish Israeli, go to Jerusalem, say to the old city, the historic Jerusalem? Can you buy an apartment or a house anywhere there in the Arab quarter?
I can't even hang there without police escort.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because I'll get killed, you know.
By whom?
By Arabs.
Why would they kill you?
Because there's hatred. They think every single Jew is, I don't know, some sort of Satan emissary or an evildoer, you know. If I make the wrong turn here, I'll get killed.
If you go to the...
If I invite someone to visit me, someone who doesn't know the area, I have to be online with him on the phone on every minute so that he won't make the wrong turn, because if he will accidentally get into some, you know, some Palestinian village somewhere within the Palestinian Authority, he's as good as dead.
Wow. Were there cases? Can you name actual cases?
Yeah.
Because
Uh,
You say that, but
Obviously, well, I can't quote an exact date without any source, but few years ago there were a couple of guys who made a wrong turn into Ramallah and viciously killed. There's videos of Arabs showing their bloody hands through the window of the building when it happened.
Two reserve soldiers lose their way and drive into Ramallah by mistake. They are arrested by the Palestinian police and are taken to a local police station. The police make little effort to stop the mob, and some even join the crowd in lynching the soldiers to death. The dead soldiers' bodies are thrown out of the window into the clutches of the angry crowd.
was there any murders around here where you live in the
All the
neighborhood?
time.
Can you name some?
People who lived here were killed by ambush from firearms when they were.
When I talk
There were
to-
times people who lived in terror. Simple as that.
Well, you know what? But when I talk to the Western groups, they tell me it's a lie that Arabs don't kill anybody, Jews are killing people.
Well, they are invited to our graveyard. Maybe they can argue with that. I think what they say is that this is our fault. But to say that there are no deaths, you simply can't say that. That's not even a lie. That's not even a joke. I don't know. Arab terrorists from a nearby village infiltrated the Jewish settlement of Itamar on Saturday, which is our holiday. They entered an empty house. They found a weapon there. Then they went to the neighboring house and killed an entire family.
Why did they do that?
Well, it's part of their war. We are at war. They believe that the more pain they will cause us, the more political profit they'll get.
Did they have problems with that family? Maybe that family prior to that, hurt them.
It wasn't personal.
It wasn't
It
personal.
was national.
So they didn't know those people that they killed.
No.
Was that somewhere around here, or it's somewhere?
Yeah. It's just, it's on the other mountain. We are in the mountain, and yeah, that's on the other mountain, on the other side of the valley.
You personally, do you feel hostility toward Arabs? How do you feel?
It's like I said before. As a man, I love all men. If I'll see an Arab walking in the street and he'll drop his phone, I'll pick it up. But when I drive my car and I see a couple of Arabs standing on the side of the road, I can't help fearing maybe they have foul intentions. I wouldn't like it to be that way, but that's the way it is. Jews don't make ambushes for Arabs. It's Arabs that makes ambushes for Jews. I would like this reality to stop.
So would you like peace, or would you like to attack the Arabs, or what would you?
I don't want to attack the Arabs. I think the problem is that the Arabs got accustomed to the thought that terror will give them favorable results. So I think that in the first phase there is no escape from decisive military action focused against terrorists, proven terrorists, that will make it clear that terror doesn't pay. After that, I think it would be possible to conduct peace. Israelis wants peace. Nobody has an interest, to rule over the Arabs or to enslave them or to take advantage of them. We don't need it, We have such a developed industry and high-tech research. We don't need slaves, It's not the 18th century.
A few weeks ago, there was an incident here where an Israeli soldier has beat up an European, I think Danish activist who came here, and he got attacked by a Jewish soldier.
Yeah, well, that's an excellent example for misguided people. Their peaceful activity was trying to block a major road, and the soldiers' task was to stop them, to keep it open, to keep the activists from sitting on it and blocking the cars. This particular activist has broke 2 fingers of the commander of the troops that were assigned this job, and as a result he was attacked by that commander. It was definitely not an unprovoked attack.
On a whole, in summary, do you think the actions by those European activists, they have positive influence on the conflict or negative influence?
Unfortunately, I think the influence is very negative. If they really want to do something good, they have to stop being so shallow. It's
What
not.
do you mean by shallow?
I mean that when you see an edited film, when you see a soldier, Israeli soldier, beat up a peaceful activist, and you say, "Oh, so that's what's going on there." You need to be smarter than that. There are people behind this movie. Someone was there with a camera. Someone edited it. Someone wrote what he didn't want you to see. But if you really want to be moral, if you really want to do your moral duty, you have to inquire. You can't accept as given what they sell you, what they preach to you.
Have you been in the member of the Israeli army at any point in your life? Or
Yeah.
You have.
I was compulsory recruited just like any Jewish male.
Do you know if a Jewish army, is that army just taught to fight, or it's also following certain code of ethics? Many armies in the West have certain code of ethics. They would try to avoid civilian casualties. Is there something like that in Israeli army?
Something like that. You know that the Israeli army wouldn't kill a terrorist if he's surrounded by a bunch of innocent people, even though he's a proven terrorist known to be an active threat on the peace of Israeli soldiers and civilians. I don't even know if it's ethical. I think sometimes it's over-ethical, because when you're at war you need to fight. But as a soldier I can tell you that the army invests a lot of resources and time from the training to implement in the troops the sense of morality, responsibility, restraining that they are required when serving here.
There were cases, despite what you say, when during action by the Israeli military, some Arab innocent civilians were killed. How do you explain that?
Well, that's very easy to explain. The Arab terrorists are using innocent people as living shields. They fire their missiles from schools. They hide behind babies. So, usually when it happens we don't attack them back, but sometimes we didn't know they do that. That's all.
So those are accidents?
Sometimes it's mere accidents, you fire and it didn't land up where you meant, and sometimes it's an intelligence accident. We didn't know there were innocent people in there, but these innocent people didn't just happen to be there. They were brought there on purpose by the terrorists in order to make sure they would not be attacked, and they would not have been attacked if we knew they were there.
But don't soldiers do the same?
Never. Have you ever seen a civilian in a Jewish roadblock, in a Jewish operation? We don't do things like that.
So you don't use human shields, either Arab or
Obviously,
Israeli or Jewish?
absolutely not.
No.
That's against everything we believe in.
Yeah, some people in the West would disagree with that. They say that Jews also use human shields.
Well, anyone can make up a lie, but the question is there a proof? Is there some sort of evidence for that? And the reason is no. Because
so all those are very sad, difficult subjects to discuss.
it is unbelievable how easy it is to make up all these lies, and how difficult it is afterwards to prove them wrong. That's what I'm saying. If you are really moral, you have to inquire. You have to ask yourself, what if it's all a lie? What do I really know? Before you take action, before you even make an opinion. You have to find out, when someone comes to the judge and says someone stole something from him, the first thing the judge will say to him is, wait, I need to hear the other side, I can't rule on your word. If that's true for money, it's definitely true for people's life,
Did you have personally any friends that died from in the conflict, from the hands of Arabs or?
No, fortunately I can say I have a relative, but I didn't know him personally. He's related to me through marriage. Well, he was killed in Lebanon, but it was not by Palestinians, it was by Hezbollah. He was killed in Lebanon.
What is Hezbollah?
That's a terror organization in Lebanon founded by Iran, and it maintains constant connection with Palestinian organizations of terror.
Okay, do you want to say something about the Israeli politics?
I think many Israeli politicians are guided by the mistaken thought, like their brethren in the Western world, that Arabs are like us, in the sense that
Israeli politicians.
Yeah, okay. Israeli, American, European, they think the way we do. They have the same interests we have. It's just a matter of a misunderstanding, of money, of signing some paper. They don't understand the level of emotion that is involved, the religious impulse, the fundamentalism, the self-assurance of the Muslims that they are stronger than the West. That many Muslims hate Jews not as Jews but as bearer of the Western culture. That Iranians burn Israeli and American flags together. They call Israel the little devil and America the greater devil.
In the US, we have a big event coming in November, elections between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama. Do you have an opinion about Barack Obama? What do you think is his influence on world peace, and especially peace in the Middle East?
I know he got a Nobel for his intentions.
He did get the Nobel Prize.
Yeah. Well, I think Obama is one of the greatest examples for a Western leader who does not understand who he's dealing with. For example, he bowed in front of an Arab king. I don't know, maybe he thought it's a game, but in Arab culture that's a very meaningful statement. It means he's higher than you in hierarchy. And if someone is higher than you, then you don't get dictations from him. You order him what to do. He just doesn't understand. He thinks that he can solve everything by talking, but you can't talk to someone unless he is convinced that he should talk to you. If he thinks he can get more from you by violence, and he is ready to act in violence because that's his ideology, then he won't talk to you. He may be talking to you, to deceive you, to buy you some time, but you will never be able to reach true understanding with him. I think Obama is genuinely interested in understanding, but he won't get that from the other side until he will convince them it's good to listen. And they won't listen until they will realize that violence is not a good way to operate in. What they see now is the complete opposite. They see that whenever they act violently, the West is compensating them, trying supposedly, to calm them down or to satisfy their demands, as if that will make it stop. But it only makes it worse, because it teaches them that that's a good course of action.
What about President Obama's meeting in Cairo? In the first year of his presidency, he went to Cairo and he talked at the major university there. He had a speech about implementing peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, first of all, I have to say that the leader in Egypt at that time is no longer the leader of Egypt, and that is a great deal thanks to Obama. To Obama's not supporting his ally.
President Mubarak of Egypt was in power for 30 years, and he was known as corrupt leader. Yet some people say that he kept peace, so at least there was no fighting in there.
I think, every ignorant man looking at what happens in Egypt right now sees that it's not going in a good way. Fundamentalist parties are taking over. Their talks on canceling their peace agreement with Israel. They already stopped the supply of gas.
We have a very serious conversation here, but obviously life consists of also fun things.
Yeah.
What do you guys do for fun here in Yo Town?
Right here in this little settlement, we don't have much of, entertainment. Mostly when we want to hang out, we go to other cities where we can go to restaurants or see movies, stuff like that.
How far do you have to drive?
Well, there is a little city called Ariel. That's about 20 minutes driving from here. They have a little theater, and there's a swimming pool, and stuff like that. And if you want to go to the larger cities, then you have to go for about 50 minutes. By the way, that way could have been a lot shorter if you could use the old roads. But we have to drive new roads. The government has created to bypass Arab villages because they won't let us through.
Can Arabs drive on those roads?
Absolutely.
Are there roads where Arabs are prohibited from driving?
I think there's one, yeah, on the way to Jerusalem, where it was forbid after a very intensive period of terrorist actions. But they have a substantial road of their own where Jews are prohibited to drive. So, it's not like they are treated worse than Jews are. They're treated equally.
Okay, you see, we keep on falling back into the...
Yeah, that's part of life here,
Yeah, yeah. Do you have your favorite Israeli soccer team? Do you follow soccer?
Well, when I was younger, I used to be a fan of Maccabi Haifa.
Oh, from Haifa.
Yeah.
That's a very known team.
That's because I liked the green color, I think. That's why it started when I was really young. Today I became more of an intellectual,
Okay.
But that's me, Many people here play basketball at evening and, they love soccer and basketball and hiking and...
Do you hike yourself?
Yeah, well, I don't want to go into politics again, but
okay.
we can't really hike around here because it's not safe.
Because of that.
But yeah, we're going northwards. That's where we usually hike.
Do you travel abroad?
Most of us are not rich enough for that. That's the simple truth. In this settlement, going abroad is an expensive business.
So you cannot afford even to go abroad once a year, maybe? Or?
Yeah, most of us can't.
Do you own a car?
No.
You don't own a car?
Oh, I'm only 25.
Well, a lot of people at your age in the West own a car.
Well, I have to say that in Israel cars are much more expensive because of taxes, but still. Look, I have a family. And
you are married?
Yeah, I'm married, I have 2 kids.
2 kids.
That's an expensive business.
Right.
Maybe, when I'll graduate and begin working, I might be able to afford a car.
How many more years to graduation?
This is the final year for the master degree, and
Get your master's.
and after that, it's another 4 years for my dissertation.
Do you have a message for Jews in the diaspora, like myself?
I understand a lot of Jews are ashamed in what we do, and that
You mean in the settlements?
yeah, that causes them to to deny their connection to Israel. And I want to say to those Jews, they shouldn't be ashamed. What we're doing here is the realization of the prophecies. We are moral people. We would never harm an Arab, not to mention an innocent Arab. Some things are out of our hands. They're inevitable because of the conflict. But our hand is reached for peace, always for peace. And if these Jews will support us, and if they will want to see the real picture, I'm sure they'll be able to do a lot to help in bringing us this blessed future we pray for.
I have one more question. A lot of people in the West say that Jews like yourself live on stolen Arab land, that you basically displace Arabs from their properties,
No.
steal it, and basically...
That is
build
not
your
true.
village.
Specifically, this place was never settled before. There
There was no Arabs here before?
absolutely not.
Thank you very much. Thank you.